at the back end of last year in 2017, I fell back into a relapse of mental health problems. I started self-harming, feeling depressed, anxious. But as that all started to develop, I was determined not to let myself fall into that state again. I'd been clean and very positive for 7 years, and I kept on convincing myself that I wasn't going to accept it. I wasn't going to accept these mental health challenges. I said that I was going to get through this and I was going to get on with my life. But as a couple of months went by into the beginning of 2018, I wanted to know what was wrong with me exactly. I wanted to get a diagnosis. And the reason I wanted to get a diagnosis is because I wanted to understand myself. I wanted to know exactly what I was working with. And then that way I could better myself. I could get the right help and support and obviously healthcare. And I've been thinking about this for a while now. And I've been thinking about how the effects of asking for a diagnosis and receiving one, what they can be like. Because I'm sure there's plenty of you out there that are watching this and thinking, oh, I don't know if I should get a diagnosis. And of course there are going to be people, you guys watching, that have already received a diagnosis. And that could have made you feel many different things when you heard it for the first time. So I wanted to just give my opinion, give my thoughts, my reasons as to why I think asking for a diagnosis is a good thing. Now, before I do that, I want to cover the not so good reasons why you should ask for a diagnosis, because it's only fair that we weigh up the pros and cons. Now, if you're going to ask for a diagnosis, you want to know exactly what's wrong with you, whether it's depression, anxiety, personality disorders, bipolar, etc., etc. The first thing I recommend that you do is speak to a healthcare professional. Don't go online and do one of these quizzes where it's, you go into Google and ask, am I depressed, or am I this, am I that? You're going to get some questionnaires going to come up with that are going to ask you a load of questions. And believe me, I've done this just out of curiosity, and this is after my diagnosis, by the way, to see where I kind of, what it would tell me, or where I measured and all this kind of thing. And I don't think it's very helpful. Diagnosing yourself with anything, whether it's a mental health problem or a physical health problem, the internet is not the best place. Of course, it's important for you to do some research and to look up symptoms and this, that and the other. But if you really want the truth, you want clarification, your GP or mental health professionals are the people that you want to be asking and getting this information from, okay? So please, don't ever go on the internet and try and get a diagnosis that way. It's not official, it's not legit, and it's a questionnaire, okay? And the way that that's going to deliver results is that if you answered yes to questions A, B, and C, or no to X, Y, and Z, that's going to give you the measurement, and that's not really a fair and accurate way of doing it, okay? So one of the things that I have spoken to some people about in terms of receiving a diagnosis, asking for one, is that it can make you feel worse. If you're unsure as to what you have, if anything, and you get confirmation of something, and you think, oh my God, that news can be pretty hard. I mean, I'm sure you can imagine there are people out there that get the diagnosis of cancer and things, terminally ill illnesses like that. And I can only imagine that people that get told that they have cancer and other really, really life-threatening and terminal illnesses, is that hearing that probably makes a massive blow to the emotions and state of mind. And it can be exactly the same if you receive a disorder or any form of mental health problem, okay? When I asked for a diagnosis and I got told that I had emotionally unstable personality disorder, it hit me, and I wasn't quite sure how to react. To be honest, I kind of had a feeling for a long time that that's what I had, but to hear those words confirmed, and I've had it from my GP and my therapist and psychiatrist as well, it's not an easy pill to swallow when you receive that. So please bear that in mind before you ask for a diagnosis. Just think that could and will likely happen to you. I mean, if you had an inkling that that's what you had, you know, the thing that you get diagnosed with, if you had a feeling for a long time that that's what you have, then you may be able to be more receptive to the response and less affected emotionally. But if you're someone who has no idea and you're asking for it and then you'll get told you've got this or you've got that, it can be hard to swallow, okay? But I can tell you from experience, it does get easier to accept as time goes on. And I'm sure that the same thing goes out there for people who have physical health problems as well. Okay. Another thing that can be a bit problematic for having a diagnosis is that it can give you an excuse not to do things. And I don't mean you using your mental health problems as an excuse not to do things when other people ask you to do things. I mean, making excuses for yourself. You can say to yourself, right, I need to get this done, but then that portion of your brain that's really struggling, or your emotions that are weighing you down or whatever, they just say to you, no, I can't do this, or I can't do that, or I've got this, you know, I suffer with this particular disorder, I can't do it, okay? And you're always gonna have that, okay? You're always gonna have your down times, but when you have that official label, if you like, that diagnosis, it does become a lot more consistent in being used as an excuse. Now, I'm quite fortunate where I've got to a stage where I've fully accepted a personality disorder, the depression, the anxiety as well. But I'm now at a stage where I don't have to use it as an excuse, not for anyone or for myself. I don't use it as an excuse, okay? But that's not easy, and that does take time. And it is a pain in the backside, okay? You think, oh, fuck this shit, you know, I'm struggling with borderline personality disorder, I can't do it, I'm just a complete waste of space, I need to hurt myself. But if we just move on to a good point now, is that diagnosis, you can actually use it as a motivational stepping stone. And that's not easy to do either. And you're not going to get there until you've fully accepted it, you've done your research, you've looked it up, you're starting to get the therapy. You use it as a motivating tool. Now, as some of you may know, I'm writing a book about my experiences as a teenager through to the age of about 20 with suffering with mental health problems. But now, because I have this diagnosis, I say to myself, look, I've got this, okay, but I'm not going to let that get in the way of things. I'm not going to let that bring me down and stop me from being the person that I want to be and achieving the dreams that I want to achieve. Of course, it's not easy, and sometimes I can't use it as a motivational stepping stone. But now I'm able to. I'm able to say, you know, fuck this. I've got this, but that doesn't make me less human. That doesn't make me worse. That doesn't make me less of a person. It doesn't make me weak. Okay. And I'm so glad that I can just like put the middle finger up to it and just say, fuck this shit. I'm using it as a way. Okay. And for one, people who have EUPD or BPD, it's pretty much the same thing anyway, can experience a lot more positive vibes than people who don't have the personality disorder. And when I'm in that state of mind, I get that high, that real positive flow of energy like I have now, and I can use it to be constructive, okay? It's pushing me towards it, and I'm motivated, okay? It does take time, okay, for you to be able to accept what you have and being able to redirect that negative energy into something positive. It does take time, it does take practice. You're gonna need support, but you can use it as fuel to get things done, things that you want to do, things that you are going to benefit from, okay? Another thing to consider as well is that you could be misdiagnosed, you could get a wrong diagnosis. So it's perfectly okay to ask more than one health professional for a diagnosis, okay? I had it on my sick note from my GP. My GP spoken to me about it. I got it from, I asked my therapist what I had, CBT therapist that is, she said the same thing. And when I've been in hospital and I've been seen by a psychiatrist and they've confirmed that I have personality disorder, obviously that's at least 3 people. And yeah, okay, I'm going to say, 3 out of 3 people can't be wrong, surely. So, yeah, but there is a possibility, especially with personality disorders. Their symptoms can cross over into bipolar and depression and anxiety and other things, and you could have that disorder as well as other things. Okay, but the key thing is to just take it as it is. Okay, and work with it. Okay, that's the best that you can do. Work with it, and if you are really uncertain or don't believe in the diagnosis you've been given, you can ask for a second opinion. You can see another doctor. You can see another therapist. There are plenty of people to ask out there. Okay. Okay. So that's pretty much all I have to say on the matter. Okay. But I honestly think that you should get a diagnosis, because once you know the truth, once you know what you have, you know what support you can get, the right help, the right therapy. Okay, and it's important. It really is. Okay, I mean, if you had a life-threatening terminal illness, you'd want to know. You'd want to know what you can do to live a more comfortable lifestyle, and that's exactly. And I believe exactly the same thing with mental health, not just physical health. Okay, and my honest opinion is that I think mental health, the road to recovery isn't always necessarily about defeating or beating the mental illness. I believe it's more along the lines of working with the mental illness, accepting what you have, learning about the symptoms, learning your triggers, and then just being able to adapt to all these things to be able to live a more positive and comfortable life. Thank you very much for watching.